Hey everyone, this is Nicole Crozier here, and if you're listening to this video, you are part of the Design and Launch a Life Coaching Business You Love Challenge. So this is aside from the overview video, the first video in the challenge. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to be using my new Ergonomic Life Coach ebooks. This is a 7-step guide and checklist, which you can see here on your screen. And I'm going to work through the first 2 steps in the 7 steps of launching a life coaching business you love. So these are going to be know your business phase and know how to quick start your business. And I'm going through these 2 steps today because I kind of consider them, along with the introduction of why life coaches aren't typical entrepreneurs, to be kind of those pre-business building steps. So these are the 2 or 3 steps. I know I keep going back and forth as to whether the why life coaches aren't typical entrepreneurs is going to be a step or just an introduction. But these 3 steps, I'll call them steps for now, are the steps that you kind of need to take as a new life coach, especially if you're transitioning from a career to building a business that you love, and especially if you've never launched a business before. These are kind of those steps that you need to get in place to get moving, to get the right mindset in place, and to really understand where you're at and why you are where you are. And only after that can we move into the business building steps, which are steps 3 to 7 here on the screen. So we will start with know yourself, which is the most important step for any life coach in building their business, at least in my opinion. And then we're going to connect who you are to all of those aspects of building your business. So know your business, that's where we're going to look at your ideal client and your core difference and your programs and services and your business goals. Know your voice, how you're going to communicate who you are and what you do and who you help. Know your marketing. So we're going to create a marketing strategy and system that's all about you and full of stuff you love. And know how to be an entrepreneur. So what are your business processes going to be, and how are you going to run your business on a day-to-day basis? And everything connects back into who you are. So which means at the end you will have a business in place that is completely in line with what you want and how you work best, which in my opinion is the only way a life coach can really run a business, because life coaches aren't typical entrepreneurs. Okay, so that leads me to the first step. So I think it's super important to understand why, as a life coach, you may not be a typical entrepreneur. And this does not apply to every single life coach, but overall, I have found that life coaches tend to be different from your typical entrepreneur. And I'll tell you what I think those differences might be. So for me, a typical entrepreneur is someone who has a strong background in business and marketing, who has likely been an entrepreneur before and is motivated by being an entrepreneur. It's exciting for them to launch and run a business. It's exciting for them to make more money and to grow. And that is a passion and purpose for them in and of itself. Whereas most life coaches I've found tend to be starting a business for the first time. So they're transitioning usually from a career to launching a business, and they don't really have a passion and purpose for business building or being an entrepreneur in and of itself. It's more that being an entrepreneur is a necessary evil to getting their important work out into the world. And so life coaches tend to not come to the table with a strong background in business and marketing, and aren't super excited about really being an entrepreneur in the first place in terms of all the marketing and business processes that go along with it. They just want to they want something that's fun. They want something that's passionate. They want to live their purpose. And so running their business needs to be in line with who they are and equally as fun as knowing that they're fulfilling their passion and purpose. So the reason I think this is important is because most business and marketing programs out there are really aimed at your typical entrepreneur. So what they assume is that you already come to the table with a strong background in business and marketing, that you've run a business before likely, and so you already have that foundational layer in place. And so what they're teaching you builds on top of that foundational layer. So the problem is that when life coaches who don't have a background in business and marketing take these programs, is they're missing that first foundational layer. And so what they're learning has nothing to plug itself into. So an example would be a list building course. Well, that's great that you're learning how to build a bigger list. But if you don't already have a strong business and marketing foundation in place, there's nothing to plug that list building into. So you're starting from scratch and you don't have that necessary foundation. So it often just doesn't work. And another example is that typical, like, make 6 figures in your first year as a life coach, or 7 figures even. That assumes that you've already been an entrepreneur before and you know what it takes to really build a business, and now someone's going to show you the secret to build it faster and make even more money. But you already have that foundation in place. But as a life coach, if you don't, then that 6-figure course is just going to be stressful, completely unattainable, and it's going to produce horrible feelings for you. And that's where I believe that things really go horribly wrong, is because I think most life coaches have a huge opportunity to be able to slowly build a sustainable business that they really love, but then they take some of these programs and believe that they don't have what it takes. Everyone else can make 6 figures in a year, so what's wrong with me? I must be inherently bad at business, or no one wants what I have to offer, or I'm just not good enough. But in reality, this isn't true. You've simply taken a program that is not commensurate with your level of business or the phase of business that you're at. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next section is, do you know what business phase you're in? But before I get to that, the other way I believe life coaches are a little bit different than your typical entrepreneur is a typical entrepreneur to me, and of course, again, not all entrepreneurs, tends to be a certain personality type. They tend to be more of the in the here and now sensing type. So they're and more logical thinking types where they don't take, their feelings into account as much. So for example, for a life coach, they tend to be intuitive feelers. And that means that you see the big picture, you see the possibilities, you need to know how everything connects together, and you need to make everything your own. So you can be given a system, but if that system isn't quite the way you like to work, you'll adjust that system to fit you and who you are. And then as a feeler, you make decisions based on logic, but you also take the human condition into account. So you take into account how this impacts other people, and especially whether it feels right and authentic to you. And so when it comes to, say, a marketing program, this is where things often go wrong for life coaches, is that someone will show you a system that really, really works, a best practices system, and you do step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you're going to build this sustainable business and make 6 figures in your first year. And for a typical entrepreneur, that's fantastic. Great. This system has worked for someone and it's worked before, and this is going to help me grow and make more money, and that's what I'm passionate about. I'm going to implement their system and it's going to work for me. With life coaches, however, if you are an intuitive feeler, you're like, well, that doesn't feel right to me. I don't think I can do all of that networking. I can't do that cold calling. That feels wrong and icky. Therefore, I can't do steps 2 and 3, and therefore your system won't work for me. So then you've taken this course and you've learned the system, but it feels wrong to you, and you can't adjust it to who you are, so then you don't use it. And if you don't use it, then you can't grow your business, and then you can see how things can go wrong from there. But that is what a lot of programs are. They're teaching you a system that has worked for you. So for example, a consultant or a coach starts a business and they've used a certain system to run their business, and that works for them and it works for their personality type, and they've succeeded and they've made 6 figures, and that's fantastic. And now they're going to teach you how to do their system. But if it doesn't work for you and you're never going to use it, then what's the point in learning it? And so what I'm trying to do with this challenge is come up with a system, or not even a system, but a framework that is something that will give life coaches those business, marketing, and being an entrepreneur basics that they need to know first. So to give you guys that foundational layer so you can build all those first things that you need to do just to get your business off the ground. But also do it in a way that you can adjust completely to who you are, that you can adjust completely to what feels right and authentic to you, so that in the end, you've built a foundation for a business that is completely in line with something you're actually going to activate, something that feels amazing to you, it's a business you're for sure really going to run. Okay, so now for the part that we're gonna work on today. And like I said, I'm gonna work through all of these steps as well along with you. So the first step that I came up with is know your phase of business. And this step is all about how to set the right expectations for where you're at in your business right now. I think where things often go wrong again for life coaches is when they think they're in a more advanced phase of business than they really are. And so this ties back into what we were just talking about with those like build a 6-figure business in a year. So those are great for people who are in a more advanced phase of business, and then they can take their business to the next level and build 6 figures in a year. Or they had a different business before, now they're launching a business that's similar, but it's kind of a new business, but you know, it's kind of a similar business too. And so they've already got a foundation in place, and so it's easy for them to take that to the next level. But if you think that you're in a more advanced phase of business than you really are, so if you're a life coach, you're launching a business for the first time, you don't have a marketing and business foundation in place, you don't have a strong foundation in business and marketing, then if you're taking one of those courses, you have the same expectations for achievement as someone who's run businesses before and already has that in place. And does that seem realistic? I absolutely do not think so. And what happens is it creates an expectation gap. So then when you don't achieve what you think you should be achieving, when you don't have all these clients, when you don't get the financial reward you think you should be getting, you can make it mean, again, that no one is interested in your services, that you failed, that you're not a good business person, that this is never going to work, and ultimately that you have to go back to your soul-sucking career forever. But on the other hand, when you can really identify the phase of business that you are really in, then you can set realistic goals and expectations that you can achieve, and you can give yourself permission to be in that phase of business, to try some stuff out, to have some fun while you start building that right foundation and getting super clear on what you're doing. Okay, so here's what I mean. So I've got kind of 3 phases of business I want to talk about. The first phase of business is really when you're just getting started. So you're finishing your training program, you're just trying to figure out what your business might be, but you want to start moving forward at the same time. So I define this as the trying stuff out and information gathering phase. So here are some clues that you might be in the first phase of business. And you could still be in the first phase of business even if you finished your life coach training last year, the year before that, but have never really moved forward in any consistent way. So you might be in this phase if you feel like you want, oh, excuse me, I just crunched my little thing on the floor there. Well, if you feel like you want to get your business going, but don't have any firm financial goals aside from I'd like to get some clients. If you're still in your old career, have a good enough job to pay the bills while you get started. If you know what you want to do and who you want to work with only at a super high level, you have just a best guess, but you're not really sure whether this is going to stick or not, and you need to find out. So if this sounds like you, if you feel like, okay, you know what, I'm really in the first phase of business, it's important to recognize that you're in this phase and give yourself permission to try stuff out, to gather information, to learn without the pressure of unrealistic client or financial goals. It's okay to keep your old career at this time. It's okay to have a good enough job that pays the bills because you're still in the process of getting everything organized and clear. So this is also the time to dream and scheme your ideal client, to test out your services and programs, and to gather information that's going to inform your next phase of business. And this is also the time that you can start really learning about business and marketing. Start building your foundation and getting clear on who you really want to work with and what you want to do, and start learning and implementing best practices at a basic level. This is not the time to skip all the basics and sign up for that course that will help you earn 6 figures in 1 year. That will go horribly wrong. Well, it'll go horribly wrong if you're a typical life coach like me. Okay, so the second phase of business is what I kind of define as the real business launch phase. So this is the phase where you know exactly who you're targeting, what you're going to offer, when you're going to offer it, and how. So during this phase, you've likely completed your training program and feel like you've tried enough stuff. You feel like you've worked with enough people, you know what you want to do, you have the information you need. You feel like you're clear on your ideal client, your core offering, and you're ready to really launch your business. Financial goals now seem kind of fun. Like, oh, okay, you know, I can work with this many clients this year and make this much money, and that sounds achievable and a fun thing to do. But when you set these goals, you're still likely planning to stay in your old career or good enough job until you reach that balance. You're not planning on just throwing that job out the window because you are for sure going to make 6 figures again in this year. So in this phase, it's important to really, again, recognize that you're in this phase and realize that you're not just trying stuff out anymore. Now you're actually running your business. You can be realistic still at this phase about your business and financial goals. And remember that this is really your first true year of running your business in a serious way. And realize that this is still a year of learning. Take note of what you like and don't like about running your business. Test what works and doesn't work. And keep in mind that you may have gotten clear on your business, but that doesn't mean that can't change. You may make small changes or realize, you know what, I made a serious error and changed the whole thing. That is okay. You get the information through action. And then what I call the advanced phases of business are the, like, say you've launched your business, you've done phase 2 for at least a year, then you're moving into the more advanced phases of business. And every year you will continue to gather more and more information on what works and doesn't work, what you love about what you're doing and what you don't love. You'll continue to create those realistic business and financial goals that are still in line with where you're at and your ideal life. So as you move through the more advanced phases of business, that's when you can start saying, okay, you know what? I'm making some consistent revenue now. I'm ready to leave that good enough job behind. I'm ready to let go of that old career. It feels like this is a good time to do that. And when you're in the more advanced phases of business, that's when you can start taking those more advanced courses. So now you're like, okay, I've got that foundation in place. I'm bringing in some consistent clients. Things seem to be working well. I understand how business works at a high level. Maybe I'm now ready to take that list building course and take things to a new level. Maybe I'm ready for, taking that Facebook ads course. This is the time that you can now add more niche expertise on top of your foundation. So like I said, I'm doing this along with you, and I'm finding, not to confuse anyone here, but I find that I'm in a combination right now of all 3 phases. I'd say I'm solidly in, for this business, my second phase of business if I had to choose. So I'm a little bit different from most life coaches in that my entire background is in corporate marketing, and then I've already launched and run my own business as a marketing consultant. So I do have that big picture understanding of marketing and business. I do know what it means to be an entrepreneur. But with the business I'm in now, which is really going out there as a life coach, I still have, my toe in the water in my previous business. So I'm still a marketing consultant for one final client, and that is where at least half of my money is still currently coming from. So for this phase of business that I'm in right now, I'm setting some achievable goals, which are to get really super clear on what it is I love doing and who I love working with. So I've made some best guesses as to who I want to work with going forward and what I want to do, and I'm solidly testing those out. So for example, I am launching a course next week, and I'm going to try out that course and see how it feels to me and see how other people resonate with it, and that's going to be just more information. So I really feel like this is going to be a fun year of trying out my best guess of who my ideal client is and what I want to do. And then next year, I'll be ready to move into the more advanced phases of business. But I'm not planning on letting go of my client in my other business until I really feel like I figured it out and I'm on that right path. Then I will let that client go. So I have given you guys a worksheet that's called Know Your Business Business Goals. And I'm going to be reworking this worksheet a little bit for this upfront step of knowing what phase of business you're in. But this is kind of what I work on with clients when they don't really know or they're not really able to tell or guess for themselves what phase of business they're in. So this worksheet is available in your portal, and it kind of walks through what I just talked about in terms of the phases of business. And then it gives you some things to fill in on what are some like amazing business goals to create for both phases. And then the business and financial goals that you can create for your second phase of business. So if you're not clear on whether you're in the first or second phase of business, read through these questions. Like, what are your revenue goals? What are your profit goals? What is your average revenue purchase? How many monthly customers do you need to reach this? On and on. And if that type of stuff stresses you out and you have no idea how you're going to figure that stuff out, you are likely in the first phase of business. Once you've gone through that first phase of business, this is going to feel, for most people, in my opinion, like a bit more of a fun exercise. Like, oh, I wonder how many clients I can get. And if I need those clients, what do I have to do to get them? Like, what type of marketing do I have to do? And how many, leads do I need to get? Blah, blah, blah. Because you'll feel more comfortable by the second phase of business with what marketing really is, what business really is, how it works best for you. So figuring that stuff out is going to feel a lot more fun than if you're in the first phase of business and you don't have that big picture understanding of business and marketing. Then it's going to all feel nebulous and stressful and icky. So I encourage you to download that worksheet from the portal, take a look at it, and it'll really help you clarify where you're at in your business right now. All right, and then the next step is know how to quick start your business. So I love this step because this is how to not get stuck and overwhelmed and not let perfectionism and overwhelm stop your business momentum. So this seems to be the traditional problem for life coaches when they're first getting started. It's, I don't know what I want to do. Why do I need to choose a niche? And how do I know who my ideal client is? I haven't done any of that yet. But I can't do any of that yet until I know what my niche is and who my ideal client is and what I'm doing. So I can't work with anyone until I figure it all out, but I can't figure it all out until I work with people. So this quick start is designed to help you solve that problem. So what it really is at a high level is how to put those simple basics in place, how to make a super simple best guess for where you're at right now so you can start talking about your business with other people, so you can start working with some clients. And while you're doing that, that's when you figure out all of your business in the background. So you're moving forward and you're gathering information while you're putting all the pieces in place. And to do this really involves just two things. One is just to set up the simplest of the basics so that you can tell people about your business and give your clients a way to work with you. So this really just means setting up a phone scheduling and payment system that works for you and creating a quick one-page website. And I mean that, quick one page. And the second part of this is, in order to do that, especially the quick one-page website, is make your best guess of where you're at right now. So for your one-page website, make your best guess of who you might want to work with, what you might want to offer at a high level, and just put it on that page and give people a way to sign up and work with you. That is it. So for me, I have quick started my business for this phase. I probably got quite a bit farther than setting up a quick one-page website, but I could have just easily done that as well. So what I have done is I've made the best guess of who I want to work with right now. And so my best guess for right now is other life coaches. Sorry, I just got interrupted by the dog, but where was I? Okay. So my best guess for who I want to work with right now, like I was saying, is other life coaches. And I want to help life coaches like you, hopefully, who don't have a solid background in business and marketing and are transitioning from a career to a new business that they love. And so for me, my best guess is that these life coaches were super successful in their previous career, such smart women, but always felt like they kind of didn't fit in that career. They kind of didn't fit in the 9-to-5 workplace, and they worked a little bit differently than everyone else. They felt like they were trying to shove their square peg into a round hole. And so while they were successful on paper, they likely felt like their life was slowly draining away from them. And everyone else in their life probably felt like, what is wrong with you? Like, you've got an amazing job. You're making great money. You're successful. Like, you should really love your life. But they knew that there was something more for them. And so they found life coach training. And they either took the training to figure out their own passion and purpose and accidentally along the way realized that that was life coaching, or they realized that they wanted to be life coaches and took the training. And so I wanted to help those people get their important work out into the world and figure out who they are and what they want to do and how they want to help people, and then actually give them those first basics so that they can get started in the right way. Because what I found during my life coach training courses, and this goes back to that whole purpose thing, my why, is that there were so many people that had these amazing gifts and had so much to offer people, and I felt like their tribes so needed them, but they simply weren't getting their gifts to their people because business and marketing was a huge roadblock for them. And I felt like there was something missing out there for helping people just take those initial first steps to get past that business and marketing foundation hump and really get their gifts out into the world. So that's my best guess for right now. So I've put that on my website and I've given people a way to contact me and work with me. So I'm using Zoom as my phone system. I'm using Acuity as my scheduling system, and I've linked PayPal to Acuity for my payment system. So right now you can go to my website, you can click on a button to do a free mini session that automatically goes into Acuity. And then if you want to buy a session with me, you just click another button which goes into Acuity, you purchase that session and you pay for it online and it sends me an email. And then I send you an email back with my Zoom phone number and the time, and then we get on the phone and set up the session. So I have everything in place just with those 4 things to work with clients and to talk about what I do. So if you're at a place right now where you're super struggling to set up a website, which is where I find that a lot of life coaches tend to get really, really blocked, that usually indicates, like, if you're sitting there trying to set up your website and you're just stuck, you're like, what am I supposed to say here? What am I supposed to do? I don't know what to put in my about section. I don't know what to put in my services section. This isn't sounding right. This isn't right. You're probably in your first phase of business. You're probably at a place where you haven't figured all that upfront stuff out that's needed in order to put a full website together. Because really, before you're ready to do your real for end all, well, not for end all because it always changes, website, you need to know who you are, what you want. You need to know your business foundations, who you're going to be working with, what you're going to offer them, how you're solving their problems, what their biggest fears are, all of that good stuff. And then you need to have your core messages in place. If you haven't done all that work first, then building your website is going to be nearly impossible and you're going to get super stuck. So that's why I'm recommending this quick 1-page website. Make your best guess. It's okay to be wrong with who you're going to work with for all time. That is fine. Just set up your quick 1-page website so you can start moving forward, and then figure out all of that other stuff in the background so you'll be ready to create your real bigger website. Okay, so that's it for today. That's kind of the pre-work for before you get into the business building steps that I just wanted to go over quickly, although I now see that it's been 28 minutes, so it's possible that I talked a little bit too long. But I will put a posting on our challenge page, and this means that we're actually moving forward. And I know that I may not be the most, how would you say, organized of entrepreneurs out there. In fact, I'm working on a blog post called The Messy Entrepreneur, and it's all about personality types and how you can be an entrepreneur no matter what type of personality you are. I'm a messy entrepreneur, but it still works. I still run a business that's successful, and I'm still able to get everything done. It's just not quite in the way that everybody else does things. So if you've been waiting a little while in this challenge for me to get something out, I apologize. And at the same time, don't apologize, because that's just how I am and how I work. And I hope that this is still super valuable to you. And I hope that you join me on the rest of the challenge, because now that I've got momentum going, I'm going to be moving really quickly into the next step, which is know yourself. And that's what we're going to be working on in the next video. And I'm also doing, if you guys are interested, a free call tomorrow. That would be March 7th at 11 a.m. Pacific time, where I'm going to walk through all of these 7 steps at a high level, answer any questions, and that's in preparation for the course I'm launching on March 14th called The Ergonomic Entrepreneur, which is going to be super fun, and we're going to go through in 8 weeks all of the steps to design, launch, and build a life coaching business that you love. So here we go. We're going to get going, and I look forward to hearing from all of you guys. Any questions or comments on where you think you might be at in your phase of business, what you're doing to quick start your business, if anything, if any of this resonates with you, in our Facebook group. So I will share this and put up a posting pretty quickly. Thanks everyone. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.